what if God loved us so much that instead of saying, hey, you need to do all of these things and you need to rely on yourself to have success in all of these areas, what if what he actually meant to say from the very beginning and what he was saying was, no, I want you to take me and the power that I have inside of you and live out of that. I was raised in the church. My dad was, everybody was involved in the church, and a very charismatic church. And we were at church on Wednesday night, we were at church on Friday night, we were at church on Sunday morning, we were at church Sunday night, and that was just normal to me. But life took way more turns than I ever expected. And I lost completely suddenly my grandmother from brain cancer when I was like 16, and she was my person. And the answer church had for me was pray harder, do more. You must not have prayed hard enough. There must have been sin, like all these confusing things that it was like, so you're saying he's loving no matter what, but this happened. I'm a kid at that point. And that's your answer for me. And so got very caught up in that system, in do more, try harder. There was a lot of conflict, and I took a ton of that conflict on in the try harder, do more, be better aspect of life that I thought was the message that church was preaching to me. And if you do more, you'll be great. The lie for me was I'm on my own, and I've got this, and I will go to God when I need to, and in my brain, I believe that you're good no matter what. But this heart of mine, there is a box around that, and I am trusting you up until that pain point. And I could quote the scriptures to you, I could tell you what you're supposed to do, I could tell you, the 10-step program you were supposed to go through, but it wasn't working. And I was dealing with PTSD from my relationships. And, I had gone to a lot of therapy, done a ton of counseling, done different types of counseling and therapy, and just wasn't finding freedom. Fast forward up until it was only August of this year, Teresa ended up preaching one Sunday here at church. And I, hadn't been back at this church for very long, so we had left and come back. And was like, all right, somebody had said, yeah, I think you might like what she has to say. So I was listening, and there was one phrase from her message where she said, I was so good at convincing everyone that I was in the promised land when the reality is I was in the wilderness. And I just sat there like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. And so I worked up, told Brian, hey, can you go grab the kids? And worked up the courage to, say, hey, by the way, and, I knew her through different people. And as somebody who never cries, I walked up to her and I just started bawling. That same day, they had said, and, there's this class called Advanced Ministry Training, and maybe you should take it, and, didn't know what it was or anything. And she actually fit me into her schedule that week. And so 3 days later, she presented the 3-part man to me for the first time and the concept of positive flesh. And it was just by the grace of God, revelation in that moment of this is exactly what was going on. I was so stuck and being taught that positive flesh was the only option. And then you get stuck in the lie of, well, I got to work harder, do more. And then the disappointment of, well, that didn't bring me the peace that this other verse is promising me. And so I was just stuck in that. And she's like, you know what? Why don't you take this class? So signed up for the class and had no idea what it actually was. Absolutely none. And we just showed up. And we went to the first class, and there was a book that they recommended as reading, and I am a very studious person, and so I immediately ordered the book on Amazon, and by that Saturday, I was reading this book called The Rest of the Gospel, which was one of the books that was recommended. And it starts talking about being born again, and it starts talking about what if God loved us so much that instead of saying, hey, you need to do all of these things and you need to rely on yourself to have success in all of these areas, what if what he actually meant to say from the very beginning and what he was saying was, no, I want you to take me and the power that I have inside of you and live out of that. It's hard to say, I am no longer in any capacity going to control my life. I'm no longer going to depend on me being the person that has to protect my kids or get out of bad situations or prepare conversations. I'm fully going to give it over to you. Church is amazing. Bible studies are amazing. Youth group is amazing. All of those things are amazing tools that God does use to impact people. But if we're going to those as our source versus going to His power as our source and then doing those behaviors and actions because of the power that we have in Him, that's the difference in my mind.